Screen printing or DTF, which one is better for making shirts at home? After years of screen printing from my craft room, I recently added DTF to my shop with the xTool Apparel Printer. Today I'll compare the two processes and show you which one is best. Hi, I'm Jennifer with Pigskins and Pigtails, and I've been screen printing here in my home craft room for several years now and sharing all of the tips and tricks I learn as I go. I got into screen printing because I wanted to make better quality shirts with my vinyl cutter. I started sharing my method of using vinyl to make my screens and how efficient the process was, even if you only wanted to make one shirt. The vinyl method has proven to be a quick setup, much faster than traditional screen printing methods, but it still creates just as professional results. Then DTF, or direct to film, came along. You can print full color designs and heat press them in minutes. But without a home DTF printer, getting transfers meant uploading my design, waiting for the transfers to arrive in the mail. And not only did this eat into my turnaround time, but it took away the feeling of being able to make them myself. But when xTool sent me their apparel printer, that made turning around DTF prints much faster. You can check out my review video to learn more about all the features of this machine. But today I want to show you how it compares to screen printing in both time spent making the shirts and the cost per shirt. Showing you how to screen print with vinyl, this is how my channel started, and my process hasn't changed in the years that I've been doing this. Let's start the clock and time how long it takes to screen print 3 shirts. I start by importing my design into Caesar Design Studio, size it to the size you want it to be on the shirt, and then send it to cut. I've added a weeding box around the design, and I'm going to turn it to save some material. I love how much time I can save by cutting right off the roll with my Caesar machine, but using a Cricut or Silhouette machine works too. With the design cut, I'm going to weed out the parts of the design where I want the ink to go through. This might be the most time-consuming step depending on how complex your design is. I've finished weeding all the little pieces and we're at 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Next, I'll take this piece of vinyl and apply transfer tape over it, flip it over and peel the backing paper off, leaving the vinyl sticky side up. Now I can place my screen on top to grab that vinyl. Then I just peel the transfer tape off. Go slowly here. If you have any pieces that come up, just press them back down as you roll the tape off. Next, we want to cover up any open areas of the screen with painter's tape so that ink doesn't go through there. I've finished setting up the screen and we're at 13 minutes. I'm going to put it into my screen printing press. If you're just getting started, you could also just lay the screen straight on your shirt. I've got my shirt loaded and I'll put a few scoops of screen printing ink here. I've added warp drive to my ink and I'll explain how that speeds up my time in just a bit. Then I squeegee the ink over the screen and repeat that one more time. Then I lift the screen and I've printed my first shirt. I'm going to quickly load the next shirt and make my second shirt. This is where screen printing becomes really efficient. Just load it, squeegee, and you're done. It takes me less than a minute per shirt at this point to screen print the shirts, so adding additional shirts to this wouldn't take that much longer. The shirts are printed, but before I go wash off my screen, I'm going to start up my Easy Press. Scoop up any extra ink that you might have on your screen and squeegee and put it back in the jar, and then we can take these to wash them off. Now typically I leave these to air dry for a little bit, but since I used warp drive in the ink, I can use this handheld press right on the wet ink to dry and cure it. I've covered it with a Teflon sheet and placed the heat press right on top. The ink just needs to reach 280 degrees through the entire shirt. This usually takes about 30 seconds. I'm going to repeat this process with the next shirt, placing the Teflon sheet on and then the heat, let it go for about 30 seconds, and then let's press the last shirt. 30 more seconds and we are done. Screen printing 3 shirts took a total of 25 minutes and 49 seconds from start to finish. Now let's look at DTF with the xTool Apparel Printer and time how long it takes to make 3 shirts with the same design. This starts on the computer in xTool Studio. I'm going to import my design. Then I need to connect my machine. It's going to run a quick cleaning cycle. I'm going to print 3 of these and click Upload the file before printing. This starts the upload process, which takes a couple of minutes. We're at 4 minutes and 26 seconds and the file is sending to the printer. The machine is receiving the file, and now we are at 5 minutes and 26 seconds and it is starting to print. Now you can just sit back and watch as the printer does all the work. It goes from printing straight into the shaker, which covers the transfer in powder and then shakes off the excess. From here, the transfer goes into the machine, into the heating element, and the next transfer starts printing. While this finishes up, I'm going to get my 3 shirts ready to go. I like to pre-press them to get out any moisture. Now let's head back to the printer to check on the transfers. We're at 17 minutes and the first transfer just finished. Now at 21 minutes, the second transfer is done, and 25 minutes in, the third transfer is done, and we're ready to take these to the heat press. I have my press set to 300 degrees, and I'm going to line up my first transfer and press it for 30 seconds. With the first transfer on the heat press, we're at 26 minutes. Once that's done, I'm going to set it aside to cool while I heat press the next one. I want to take my time lining these up so it's straight and centered on the shirt. The second one is pressing and we're nearly 28 minutes in. And now at almost 29 minutes, all 3 transfers have been pressed. Now for the fun part, I can remove the film on each shirt. It just peels right off and we have our DTF printed shirt. I do have one more step I like to take when I use DTF, and that is to use this magic seal sheet. I'll link to it below, but what this does is help seal the transfer to the shirt and it gives it a better feeling texture. Just place the shirt back on the press and we're going to cover it with the magic seal sheet and press for 20 seconds. This is the last of the 3 shirts pressed with magic seal, and I'm stopping the time at 32 minutes and 16 seconds. Screen printing 3 shirts with my vinyl method of setting up the frames took just over 25 minutes from computer to having finished ready to wear shirts. DTF was a little longer. It took just over 32 minutes, but the big difference is that screen printing was hands-on the full 25 minutes. Even during the downtime of waiting for the heat press to warm up, I was using that time to clean the screen. With the xTool Apparel Printer, it took me 3.5 minutes to import the design, wait for the cleaning cycle, and then hit print. The time was at 25 minutes when the final transfer came out, so that was 22 minutes of time that I could be multitasking and working on something else. So it was really just 10 minutes of hands-on work to make 3 shirts with the xTool Apparel Printer. But time is just one factor. Something else to consider is the cost of making shirts with both screen printing and DTF. First, the startup cost. For screen printing with my method of using a vinyl cutter, you're looking at around $400 for the vinyl cutter and $30 for a screen, $22 for a good quality squeegee, and if you want to get a screen printing press to make your process easier to line up, my Pigskins and Pigtails press is just under $300. You'll need a way to cure the ink, and you can do that with a heat press like I did using the Easy Press for around $100, or you could even use your own household iron. That's a total investment of $852 for a good screen printing setup. If you already have the vinyl cutter, heat press, or iron, your investment will be a lot less. For DTF, the xTool Apparel Printer all-in-one bundle currently runs $9,900, although be sure to check the description of this video for any sales or coupons. You will also need a good heat press with adjustable pressure because it's important that you use firm pressure so that the transfer will apply well. This HTV romp press I have runs around $350. To get started with a DTF printer at home, you're looking at spending over $10,000. The t-shirt business is a profitable one, so whichever route you go, by selling t-shirts, you should be able to recoup both of these investments. Now let's talk about the cost per shirt for the consumable supplies. For screen printing, that's the screen printing ink. And then for each project, you'll share one piece of vinyl and a sheet of transfer tape, along with some painter's tape. The ink goes a long ways. I actually measured the amount of ink I used for this exact project before and after. And to make 3 shirts, I used 70 cents worth of ink and 27 cents worth of warp drive for just under $1 for the 3 shirts. Then taking the amount of vinyl and transfer tape I used and dividing it by the cost of the entire roll, that's another $1. If we divide that by the 3 shirts, we're looking at a cost of 66 cents per shirt. Where screen printing gets even more economical is on larger orders. Let's say you do 100 shirts. My ink would be just over $30, but I'm still using the same piece of vinyl and transfer tape, so now that initial setup is divided over 100 shirts, which brings the cost per shirt down to 33 cents. If you compare that to purchasing DTF transfers online, you're probably looking at around $5 per transfer for this size design, and may end up even being more with shipping. With the xTool Apparel Printer, you can actually see the cost per transfer in xTool Studio. If I click Calculate, it comes up with $1.23 for the 3 transfers. This is calculating just the ink used for the one color design, so it turns out a little cheaper per shirt compared to screen printing. If we look at a bigger order, the cost of transfer is still the same, so you can see how screen printing becomes cheaper the more you print, compared to DTF staying the same per shirt. These calculations are just a broad comparison based on a one color design. There are other factors and supplies that will go into each method, but on average, this is typically what you'll see. With screen printing, your costs are going to go down the more shirts that you make. Ordering DTF transfers is going to be a higher cost, but you don't have the initial startup costs. The xTool Apparel Printer is a big investment, but when you have enough business coming in, having an at-home DTF printer is going to drive the cost of printed transfers down. And one other factor that I haven't mentioned yet is if you're doing more than one color. This is going to add even more time to your screen printing process, but it won't add any extra time to our DTF prints. So if you're someone that likes making shirts with full color designs, DTF printing is going to be worthwhile just in the trade-off for time that it would take to screen print. If you're like me and the feel of the shirt is the most important factor, screen printing is worth the extra hands-on time for me, even when I want to make just one shirt, because I love the soft print it leaves on the shirt. The water-based ink soaks into the fabric, so you aren't left with a heavy design on top. So when it comes to picking a winner, unfortunately, I can't tell you that one is better than the other. It's a trade-off for ease of making the shirts with DTF and the cost efficiency and feel of screen printing. For me, having both methods in my craft room is the true winner. Screen printing and DTF are not competitors, they're really teammates. When my daughter needs a quick shirt made for a dress-up day at school that's tomorrow, I'm headed to my DTF printer. If I want to help a good cause with a fundraiser, I'm going to pick screen printing because of the low cost, even if it means more hands-on work. Screen printing handles the large, simple jobs efficiently, but I'll also use it to make one shirt when feel is important. DTF fills in the gaps when I have a full color design that I wouldn't be able to efficiently screen print, or when I have personalization like names and numbers on jerseys. Together, they make a t-shirt business more versatile and more profitable. So if you've been wondering whether to add DTF to your shop, or you've been thinking about learning how to screen print, I'd love to help you get started. I have a link to the xTool Apparel Printer below and an ebook and screen printing course to help you expedite your learning on how to screen print. Be sure to check out my links below and ask me any questions in the comments. To learn more about the xTool Apparel Printer, check out my full review video here.